Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at the latest comics and media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, we return to the Energon Universe with a review of Skybound's G.I. Joe number 3. Today is Friday, January 17th, 2025, and this is episode 425 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that has sleeper agents embedded everywhere. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team of Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going? Let's talk Transformers. Dramatic.
As always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to help us out and keep the show going. We really appreciate it. If you are not a Donatreon and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. That's where you can sign up. And you get lots of perks. That includes getting to watch us record the show live and getting automatically entered into all our contests, getting some merchandise at the higher tiers, and of course getting bonus content, which includes our bonus show, We Like Big Bots. And that's a show done by Daryl and Dr. Pants, who talk about the biggest bots in their collection. They've got 14 episodes available right now on our Patreon page. More coming in 2025, fingers crossed. But keep sending those comments in to Daryl and Dr. Pants, and that'll encourage them to get busy in making those episodes. We've also got our live play Transformers RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. That has been going on for 5 years now? 6 years? Yeah, so it's a long running show done by our editor Mike. He's crafted this amazing world for his friends to go through as RPG characters, Transformers characters. So it's on a little bit of a hiatus for this month, so we'll have new episodes starting up back in February. But for right now, you can go through the archives. There's 130 episodes right now that you can look at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. There's also bonus versions of the episode. So every week before the main episode comes out, we get the bonus version that's uncut, unedited, and has extra content. So you can also check those all out on our Patreon page. 130 episodes right now and more coming. Just give Mike a little bit of time to ramp up the factory and get things going. So look forward to that and let us know what you think. We still got copies of our exclusive Skybound Transformers number 1 comic. This is the comic we commissioned with artwork by E.J. Sue. That's available at transmissionspodcast.com/comic. So you can pick that up whenever you like, and we will ship that out to you. And if you are going to TFCon LA in March, maybe you might want to pick up a copy because E.J. Sue lives out in LA, so he does tend to go to those shows pretty frequently. He was there last year. We actually met up with him last year, and he actually helped us out and sold some of our comics at his booth. So if you do get a copy, you can get it signed by him there, and I'm sure he would be happy to do that. So I don't have any official knowledge, but it's likely that he will probably be at TFCon LA just because it's in his backyard.
Hopefully that they will be recovered by then, or at least partially. I mean, I imagine that's in a different part of LA, but man, it's horrible seeing what's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty bad over there. All right, and last bit, of course, we've got our Toy Hacks January promo code. It's TM2025. So if you want to buy any Transformers labels at toyhacks.com, make sure you use our code TM2025, and you'll get 15% off all your purchases there. And you can use that code as many times as you want throughout the month of January. And then we'll have a new code for you in February after that changes. So check that out and take advantage of it. All right, let's get into the show. We've got a comic review to talk about. All right. So this week we have G.I. Joe number 3. We are doing a spoiler comic review. So if you have not read G.I. Joe number 3 yet, please stop the podcast or skip past this segment and come back when you've read the comic. Or if you don't care about spoilers, then just listen to us talk about it. So, of course, this is the non-robot comic for the Energon Universe every month, but just to keep up, and we know there's going to be an eventual crossover at some point, so we want to keep up with what's going on with the G.I. Joes in this universe. They are using Cybertronian technology, so that kind of counts, right, Daryl?
He's conveniently absent today.
Yeah, so Daryl, of course, is not happy that we're continuing to review G.I. Joe, but he's not here, so he's spared this month. So, all right, G.I. Joe number 3. This is writer Joshua Williamson, artist Tom Riley, colorist Jordi Belair, letterer Russ Wooten, editor Ben Abernathy, publication design Andres Juarez, production Ashby Florence. So let's get into a summary of this issue. Clutch has managed to infiltrate the enemy Cobra base by donning a Viper uniform and keeping his helmet on, hiding his identity. He wanders through the compound trying to find a communication hub where he can send a message back to Duke and the Joes. But he is overwhelmed by the scale of the Cobra base and momentarily distracted. That's when the Viper commander, Mercer, notices him and orders him to get back to work. Clutch tries to fit into his role as Viper soldier, but he only manages to annoy Mercer more. Mercer is about to take out his frustrations on Clutch, but luckily Destro intervenes. Destro orders Mercer to save his anger for Duke and his team rather than their own troops. They've got bigger fish to fry since their next mission is to capture Dr. Monev and his brainwave scanner. It will be the next step in their plan since they now have both the Energon and the Cybertronian technology that they stole from the US government. Mercer asks what they are going to do with these components, but before Destro can answer, Cobra Commander stops him. Cobra Commander warns that they can't reveal all their plans even inside their base since they've been infiltrated. Clutch starts to get nervous, but Cobra Commander doesn't even seem to notice him. Destro is skeptical that there's a spy in their ranks, but Cobra Commander says his instincts are never wrong. Someone is here looking to learn all they can and report back to their masters. Just as Clutch thinks he's been made, a random Cobra scientist jumps up and attacks Cobra Commander with a knife, screaming, "Cobra-La!" Cobra Commander easily stops the attack, grabbing the assailant by the face and crushing it and his throat in his hand. As the Cobra-La agent stumbles away, Cobra Commander presses a button on a remote control, opening a pit full of robot snakes. Before he tosses the would-be assassin in, he whispers to him that he was destined to fail and Globulus sent him here to die. Then he throws him in and lets the snakes kill him. Cobra Commander turns back to Destro to continue discussing the Dr. Monev and the brainwave scanner. Destro says Mercer and his team will be deploying soon, but Cobra Commander tells him that he has already sent other allies to complete the mission. Back at the pit, Duke and newest Joe Risk continue their fisticuffs. Baroness asks Hawk if he's just going to let this continue, and Hawk says in his experience, this is the best way to let soldiers work out their frustration before getting back to work. As the fight continues to get more brutal, she's not convinced this is healthy team building. Finally, the fight is ended by a dagger thrown between them into the wall to get their attention. A severely wounded Stalker got out of his sickbed to tell them they should be ashamed of their dick-measuring contest. Duke tries to argue that Risk insulted rock and roll, but Stalker doesn't want to hear it. He tells him to shake hands and focus on the next mission, while he goes and calls rock and roll's family. Since everyone is back on track, Duke, Baroness, Risk, and Hawk look at one of the weapons from the group that attacked them. It's been damaged since they self-destructed during the fight, but Duke reports how they were able to shoot lasers and not bullets. This must require some significant power source, so it's not clear how they work. Duke also tells them he recognized one of the leaders, Mercer, who he knows works for Destro at Mars Industries. Baroness counters that she heard that Mars was also attacked recently. And Duke replies that the team is a new faction they don't know about, and he draws the symbol he saw on their uniforms that looks like the head of a cobra. Just then, CoverGirl interrupts that they got a message on a secure line. They couldn't track it, but she plays the audio and video for them. It's Clutch. He was able to get word about the coming attack on Dr. Monev in Washington, D.C., but that's all the info he could get out before the signal cut out. At least they know Clutch is still alive. Duke orders the team to mobilize. In Washington, Dr. Monev is riding handcuffed in the back of a car with a security team. He protests his treatment since he is going to use the brainwave scanner to help better understand the human mind. One of the security guards answers back that his technology is more for controlling and reprogramming minds to turn them into slaves. And then he calls him Dr. Venom. Monev isn't amused by the nickname, but then he notices that they're not going in the direction of the Capitol building to his meeting with Congress. The security guard pulls his weapon and points it at Dr. Monev. He tells him they're not going to Congress and he's coming with them. Monev is scared, but then the car suddenly comes to a crashing halt. Suddenly the doors open and the guards are pulled out of the car and incapacitated. Monev crawls out of the car, fleeing for his life, but then he's met by Duke and his team, Baroness and Risk, on motorcycles. They're here to make sure he gets to Congress on time. As they prepare to make their escape, one of the guards reveals himself to be a Cobra agent with the same symbol on his shirt under his suit. Risk kicks him in the head to shut him up. Duke comments that they don't look like the same Cobra soldiers that attacked them at the lab, and Risk answers that these are the Crimson Guard, sleeper agents who could be infiltrating anywhere in the government or the military. As they start to ride away on their bikes, the Joes take heavy fire from laser blasts. The leaders of the Crimson Guard, Tomax and Xamot, the Crimson Twins, are hot on their trail in a truck filled with missile launchers, the Cobra Stinger. To be continued. So I thought it was a pretty good continuation of the G.I. Joe story. I know comics, the page count has dropped significantly over the years. We're down to, I think, 20 pages an issue. So there's not it's difficult to tell a whole story in these issues. But it's a little bit frustrating that we can't get one whole adventure in a single comic these days. It's, we get like half an adventure and then we got to wait for the next issue. I still thought it was a good setup. I thought the artwork was great. Tom Riley's art is great. I think Jordi Belaire's colors are really nice and set the mood and the atmosphere and all the scenes here. I think the storytelling was good. I thought, it was cool seeing Clutch in the Viper's nest in Cobra and afraid that he was going to get discovered, and then we just had a random Cobra-La assassin there. So that was cool. And then the continuing with this Dr. Monev, who of course we know is going to be Dr. Venom, since that's a classic Joe character, and it looks like they're lifting a plot from the old cartoon with this brainwave scanner. So overall, I thought it was a good issue. I like how it's going. The Joes are really at a disadvantage. They've got like 3 people at this point that are ready to go. Everyone else is either dead, hurt, or incapacitated. So hope they get some more recruits and build up the team. I mean, I know we still have we don't have Scarlet anywhere near anything, and I think the Energon Universe free comic book day last year teased Flint and Lady J, but they're still not in the comic yet. So guess we'll have to see how things go. But what did you think of this comic, Jeremy?
I also enjoyed it. And to your point on like not getting a story in a single issue. I mean, this is issue 3 of the series. I would hope once things are more established, we can get some more self-contained stories. Cause I mean, other series, do have those every so often. Yeah. But we're still in the middle of this whole storyline, and I don't know. I think it's really cool how the Joes are in the dark about so much, and I like how they're slowly introducing stuff, and just I really enjoyed it. I really also thought the Cobra Commander had, somehow knew about Clutch. That was a nice little swerve there. You mentioned the coloring. was, it really did set the mood. Like I just flipping through it again, like the Cobra scenes are so much more blue, and it feels a lot more kind of claustrophobic because they're in that base. And then when you get to the Joes, it's more reds and oranges, and it feels a little bit more open. There, the pit is kind of in the desert or wherever. So that's just such a good use of color, and the colorists don't get the the credit that they deserve in the contributions to a book. So I just wanted to point that out. That the coloring here, it does set the tone very well, and then also just combined with the art, it does have kind of spy thriller type of look to it.
Yeah.
Especially like when you get to the Dr. Monev part, it just seems, it reminds me of kind of spy comics and just a 60s tone.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this. No real complaints. We don't really get much more than a casual mention of Energon and the shard of the planet. But it's I like all the setup, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going. I did read through the letters, and at one point, I think it was Joshua Williamson. I do hate how they do, like, the editor is in bold and the writer is like italicized. It's just it's hard to tell sometimes what's what.
Yeah.
But one of them says that Shipwreck is one of their favorite Joes. So I'm hoping that we get Shipwreck and a few other characters, just for the comedic part of the book. I mean, we need some laughs, and that's what Shipwreck is good at.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just, it continues to be a lot of fun for me. So wish we have more Transformers in it, or more references, but I'm sure that's going to come towards the end of this arc and as they go further.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'm a little surprised about is that, like, they're in Washington D.C. and you could just, like, Tomax and Xamot can just get is this a street legal truck with missile launchers on the back?
Yeah, that's not gonna raise any eyebrows when it's driving down the street. No.
But yeah, I knew that was a vehicle from the 80s cartoon, but I wasn't sure what it is. I had to look it up. So yeah, that is a Cobra Stinger.
Yeah, I didn't notice at first that the grill looked like a Cobra. It took me a second.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that until you pointed it out. So you're doing better than I am.
Yeah. I like how, I mean, we've already been introduced to the twins in other series.
Right.
But I think this is the first time in this series, and they get a proper introduction with, like calling them out as the Crimson Twins and stuff. It just kind of made a really big deal. So if you didn't read the other series, you're like, okay, these two people are important.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we know that that they are not fans of Destro, so that's setting up a interesting internal power play in Cobra, since Cobra Commander is probably going to play these guys off of Destro.
Yeah.
Can't
for
have
his own. Anyone having too much power under Cobra Commander.
Right. All right. Well, that is our review of G.I. Joe number 3. If you guys have thoughts, please feel free to send them in and let us know if you're enjoying this book, or if you're if this convinced you to check out G.I. Joe. Even though, I mean, we are a Transformers podcast, we are big, of course, fans of Transformers, but G.I. Joe has always been Transformers adjacent. So we've always at least back in the 80s we were watching that cartoon back to back with Transformers. So it's nice to see them having this built from the ground up universe where they're all playing together. So we'll see where it goes. All right. Well, we're going to go on to media news.
All right. In the media news, first thing we have up is a a game called Wing Fighter, not Wing Commander. That's a different game. Wing Fighter, which they're doing a collaboration with Transformers. This is a mobile game. I believe it's Android only. I'm not sure. I don't think they mention in here. I know the YouTube page it mentions Android. So here so this video is all we have pretty much. It shows, I'm guessing the Wing Commander characters fighting, and then you have Optimus and Megatron, and here we see Unicron's head. So if you're into mobile games, check this out. I think it's just going to be Wing Fighter X Transformers. So the designs look pretty good. I was looking. I don't know if these are just for cutscenes or what, but I mean, you get pretty good looking Optimus with a jetpack wing mode. And then you have a Megatron. It's coming up in just a second. There we go. So, I mean, for a mobile game, I think it's pretty decent or decent looking, but we'll see when we get more information on this.
Yeah, I was particularly surprised that they had Unicron in there, and it looked like Prime and Megatron were like, okay, we're going to put aside our differences to fight Unicron, so that's interesting. I have no idea like anything about this Wing Fighter game, so I imagine the actual game probably looks nothing like these cinematics here. But you know, I mean, all these mobile games are kind of a little bit cash grabby, so yeah. I guess you know, depending on what your tolerance is for that, you check it out or not.
All right. Next up, we have some expected news. Still kind of sad, especially for the people working on it. Splash Damage has announced that they have ended development of Transformers Reactivate. And obviously, this means that people working on it, many of them have lost their job. But this was announced years ago, and we have a link here for a Reddit post where someone says they were on the team and kind of goes into detail on it was actually the game was canceled in the summer of last year, but they just announced it now, and it apparently changed many times from what we originally saw in those first press images up until the recent leaks that have come out. So it's basically not the same game we have seen other than the post-apocalyptic setting. But he said that the team, like the developers, really did love Transformers and wanted to put out a really good game. But you know, obviously it just they didn't have like the directing force behind, you know, basically to say this is where we're going. It seems like they had rotating managers coming in and trying to change the project. So it's kind of sad. Also have a link here from Simon Furman on Facebook. He posted that now that it's officially been announced, he said that he had been working on contributing some of the lore and story to the project. So kind of, you know, just sad news all around. But like I said, it was expected because, you know, we haven't heard anything for years from this. So wanted to kind of talk briefly just about this because it sucks because they had such a big splash at the Game Awards a few years ago, and the trailer I thought looked really cool. I was looking forward to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did criticize the trailer at the time though, because it was a super generic trailer. Like if they did not put the Transformers logo at the end, you would have no idea that it had anything to do with Transformers. Because they really kind of buried the lead in that trailer with, you know, all the characters in the trailer were these humans who are like, oh, we're turning him back on. It's like, what are you turning on? And it's, you know, it was kind of like that scene in RoboCop where they reactivate RoboCop, and then you're like, who is this character? And then you see a yellow hand, and I guess the assumption was that that's Bumblebee, but they didn't mention Bumblebee's name, so
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it was interesting reading the statement from that developer on Reddit, because yeah, it sounds like, I mean, one thing that I didn't want was a live service free to play game, which it seemed like that was the original vision. Thankfully, they moved away from that, but then the problem was they had no one at the top actually who was directing the game and could push forward a vision, and they kept kind of spinning their wheels. It sounded to me like what George R.R. Martin is doing, where he keeps rewriting his book over and over again, and he'll never get it published because he just can't commit to finishing his story. So
there's no one there to kind of say, this is what we're doing. You need to stop. There's no one to say no, and that's a recipe for failure.
Yeah. So, and of course, when the project fails, the manager isn't the one who gets fired. It's all the people who did all the real work. So that's of course very frustrating. I'm sure for all the people who worked on this and had all the passion to create these assets and everything. So it's disappointing. And then to hear that Simon Furman actually also contributed lore and writing and everything, that would have been, of course, Simon Furman is the hardest working Transformers guy out there. So if you want some authentic Transformers story contributed there, you got to get Simon Furman to put it out, and he'll give you something solid. So
yeah.
It would have been great to see what he contributed. I know he's been like working tirelessly on Earth Wars, that mobile app, for years and years.
Still going on. I mean, that's amazing.
So yeah, that's doubly disappointing that we don't. And we had seen some of the leaks earlier that we talked about. Like we had seen like Steve Bloom had done some Starscream voice work for this. And I think there were other voice actors who had contributed dialogue and stuff. I don't even know if that was before or after they had scrapped it and done something different, but it was. And then it's surprising that Hasbro got to the point where they put out toys for Reactivate before the game came out.
I mean, they were probably expecting it to be out earlier and had the toys ready to go, and finally the toys came out about the time when this developer said that they had canceled the game, which makes sense. I mean, the toys look good.
They do. So, it's unfortunate, and I wish all the developers well. So hopefully they can continue to move on to other projects or get other jobs if they are let go or whatever. But
it's a hard industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish. I mean, this is not the place to complain about the games industry, but they need some big course correction there. I mean, just the stability of the industry is not where it needs to be.
Right.
And despite the fact that they're kind of like the most profitable entertainment industry around, but like the mismanagement and the kind of just the people at the top don't respect their developers, don't treat them well, and treat them as kind of disposable. So it's a tough industry for anyone working there.
I mean, it's a modern day version of what you would see back in like the Industrial Revolution with, the way that workers were treated back then. Mm-hmm. So it's a shame. And they just keep pumping out money and releasing products that then need immediate patching. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all for media news. Let's finish up the show with some convention news.
All right. We have some TFCon LA announcements here. TFCon LA is going to be March 7th through 9th. And they've announced that Frank Todaro, voice of Starscream and Rat Trap in the War for Cybertron trilogy, is going to be there. Excellent Starscream. I think he was also Starscream in that G1 cast, like live read
Yes.
thing that they did. So he does a great job.
And way back in the day, he was Starscream in the Prime Wars trilogy web series. That's where he got his start.
We don't really talk about that, but yeah, he was one of the highlights, one of the like few highlights of that series.
Yep.
Next up, we have celebrating the 15th anniversary of Transformers Prime, which they've been doing with all the Prime voice actors. Tanya Gunadi, who is the voice of Miko from Transformers Prime, she's going to be there. I haven't seen what she's been up to lately, but when I met her at BotCon 2011, I think, just when Transformers Prime was starting and stuff, and very nice, very wonderful person to talk to. So, happy to see that they're getting all these Transformers Prime voice actors, because I cannot believe it's been 15 years.
Yep.
And then finally, Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Beachcomber, Breakdown, Sea Spray, Warpath, Skeletor, many other voices. 94 years old. He's going to be there. And I would, if you're going, just make sure you see him, because how many more of these is he going to go to?
Yeah, it's funny because I remember we saw Alan Oppenheimer at TFCon, I think it was the first TFCon USA in Chicago in 2014.
The first one was in Charlotte.
Oh, was it?
That was yeah, TFCon Charlotte was first.
Oh,
I think it might have been 2014. But
all right, I'm going to dispute you. I'm going to challenge you. I think Charlotte was 2015, but we'll check the tape later. But
oh, you're right.
Because I remember we took that road trip. You were still living in Pittsburgh, and we took that road trip from Pittsburgh to Chicago. But that was we got to see Alan Oppenheimer. That was 10 years ago. He was 84. Now he's 94, and he's still hanging in there. So. Yeah, definitely. If you get a chance to go out and see him,
he's going to be there Saturday only, and just as he's going to be taking part in an autograph session. Mm-hmm. I feel really bad when these like really really old actors are sitting down to do all these autographs. I mean, I just want to sit down and hear him talk, hear him tell stories.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, his voice is so distinctive. Yeah, I mean it's. Skeletor and Man at Arms from He-Man. I mean, I think that's what he's mostly known for. But of course, he had all these voices in G1 as well. But he's such a prolific voice actor, very distinctive voice. He also they did give him a role in the new Masters of the Universe Revelation as well. So he did. He had one. He was one of the. I think he was maybe the only actor that came back for like one of the original.
I can't remember
He-Man actors that came back for that, but yeah, great guy. But 94. He's no one's around forever, so I'll just say that.
Yeah,
he's hanging in there.
But as long as the mind is sharp, as long as he's doing this because he wants to, and not because people are kind of forcing him or kind of making him do these things, like we saw with like Stan Lee in the later years and stuff. That I just want him to be doing this because he wants to do it.
Definitely.
Don't want to see anyone taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if he lives out in LA, it's probably not a difficult.
I'm sure he's not traveling anymore.
Yeah, so. All right, well, that's all our convention news, and that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. So, if you guys, do you guys have any thoughts on Transformers Reactivate and on G.I. Joe #3? Let us know. Send us some feedback. Go to transmissionspodcast.com/feedback. That's where you can actually leave us a voicemail if you want, or just send us an email. Leave comments on YouTube, on our YouTube page, or anywhere else on our blog, on our website and everything. So however you want to send feedback, let us know. Of course, at the end of every episode, we give a shout out to our masterpiece donatrons. These are the folks that continue to support the podcast at our highest level on Patreon, and that's why they get a mention in every episode. So thank you once again to John Forks Levengood and Steve C. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening to this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.